This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. I've got you all unmuted right now. We don't have a huge crowd, but if the crowd gets much larger, I will mute everybody. So the goal for us today is I'm going to walk you through the product lines that we represent and just give you a top-down view or a little bit of a better understanding of what these manufacturers do, where these products are used, and who helps make some of those purchasing decisions at the end user level. So my whole goal here today is not to get into too much detail, but just give you a better understanding of the product lines that we've got, how working with me and these manufacturers can help you grow your business and help you solve your customers' application needs. So that's what we're going to do. I will mute everybody except for myself, hopefully. And then what I'm going to encourage is in the chat bar, if you have questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat bar. We'll try and keep an eye on that while we're going through this today. And if I don't answer the questions, I'll email the question and answers out afterwards. But we'll try to keep an eye on it. I'm doing this all by myself, but I think we can handle it today. So with that being said, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. And I'm going to share my presentation here with you guys. I'm going to take my camera off, so it'll make it larger on your screen, and we're gonna go through this here. So my name's Tom Gandhi. Southern Market Share is our name of our rep agency, and our whole goal is to help salespeople like yourselves solve their customers' material handling issues. So we act as a guide when you run into applications for these manufacturers' products. Now, all of these manufacturers have an inside support team, which I encourage you to use as needed, but I'm here on the outside to help support your field efforts. And the best way I can describe this is, all of these manufacturers have great inside customer service people, but the reality of it is most of them aren't familiar with application solutions in the sense of being out in the field and seeing how different people are solving their applications. That's my job. So call on me for those types of things. If you need a quick quote, don't feel like you have to call me. You can, and we'll get that taken care of for you, but you can call the factories directly and have a communication with them. That's totally acceptable with all these manufacturers. The other thing I want to make sure of is that you understand that all of these manufacturers only sell through distribution, which means none of them sell direct. So I do not call on end users unless I'm working with a distributor. And you will have the promise and guarantee that if you make and bring me in on an end user call, that you have my undying support as we go through those application solutions. And I will not go into that end user with a competitor to make a similar call. So I'd like to make sure that that is clear and understood. So today we're going to talk about all these manufacturers. These manufacturers fall into three categories. They fall into assembly products, where products are being assembled. We have products that are used in the storage area and in the handling area. And then we have what I call facilities products. So we're going to start today with Presto Lifts. Presto Lifts is our largest line that we represent. And lift tables is our largest category. And there's about $150 million a year in lift tables sold in the US every single year. So there are a lot of opportunities. And what sets Presto apart is we're an American manufacturer. We have a standard offering and we have the ability to do customs. So our products start at 500 pounds of lifting capacity, go up to 150 pounds of lifting capacity. So there isn't an object out there that we truly cannot lift and raise and elevate up. And our lifting heights go up to 40 feet in the air, standard in our book. Now, most of our lift tables are electric hydraulic, which means they work off of power, hydraulic fluid, pumps into a set of cylinders, and it raises the lift up and down. We also have a full line of pneumatic lift tables. And this pneumatic offering means instead of using the electric hydraulic, you're using compressed air to raise the lift up and down with airbags. Now, there's some advantages and disadvantages to each, and I'm not going to go into them, but one of the real reasons that people will go to a pneumatic lift table is they do not want hydraulic fluid in an area. So if you think about somebody that's got a cleaner operation, or number two, maybe they just have an explosion-proof area where they don't want the electrical motor turning on and off, and we can eliminate that with these tables. So when you come to me and start talking about a lift table, I'm immediately going to think electric hydraulic unless the customer leads us down the path of pneumatic. But we do have both and can offer all solutions. So what is a lift table used for? A lift table is used to bring work up to the worker so he or she doesn't have to bend over. We're focused on ergonomics. That's the easiest thing to see. So when we're talking to safety people in a plant, we want to talk about ergonomics because that's what they're focused on in their daily lives. But for production people, the people on the line, we want to talk about productivity gain because a lift table has a great productivity gain. So we're bringing work up to the worker so he or she doesn't have to bend over to it. We're eliminating that 5 to 7 seconds for every part they have to pick off that pallet. And if you start thinking about it, if you have 100 pieces on a pallet and that you're working through a day, that starts to add up pretty quickly over a day, over a week, over a year. There's tremendous savings. And what we're affording the operator to do is rather than spend time bending over to do his job or her job, they can spend time adding value to the process right here. They're machining, whatever they do to add value to what they're lifting up, they can spend more time and focus on it. So in addition to lifting pallets up, we lift equipment up. This could be for assembly, could be for maintenance, could be for repair. So again, bringing work up to the worker so they're not bending, they're not working in awkward positions. You can see here he's working on the bottom of this. Wasn't on a lift table, he'd have to be on his hands and knees on the floor trying to work on it. Not as comfortable, not as efficient, a lot easier to make a mistake when you're not in a comfortable position. Now on lift tables, a very common option is going to be a turntable. And a turntable focuses on ergonomics, the bending, the stretching, but it also allows them to rotate the load so that they don't have to walk around the pallet. And we burn just as much time walking around a pallet as we do bending over to pick up the product off the floor. So where people are working off of pallets and they've got small parts, a turntable is something you're really going to want to recommend to them. In addition to turntables, we can put gravity conveyor on top of our lift tables, powered conveyor on top of our lift tables. Since we're an American manufacturer, we like to do customs. We like to solve problems for people that aren't necessarily in our book. Here we added a V cradle, a very simple fixture on top of our lift table to hold this roll in place. And this allowed them to raise it up and put this mandrel through. Again, ergonomics, time savings. They're able to do their work quicker. Another popular option that you'll hear people talk about is an accordion skirt or a bellows guarding. It's this yellow and black piece underneath the lift table. It hides the scissor legs from the operator's view, serves as a visual aid for them not to put their hand or their foot in there. So safety people love these pieces of equipment. Maintenance people also like them, as well as us as a manufacturer like them because they keep and eliminate dust and dirt, metal shavings, screws, all that type of stuff that gets thrown around in a heavy manufacturing environment out from underneath our leg sets and getting in the way of our rollers and our scissor legs. So there is a benefit to the lift itself. Most people don't have the best maintenance underneath our lift tables. So it's a way in a real harsh environment where maybe you have metal shavings, the screws, the rivets falling underneath the table to protect the lift and maybe get your customer a little bit better longevity out of a lift. And then here's a nice example of a lift table we did for an automotive manufacturer here in Greenville, South Carolina called BMW. It's got the skirting on it, as you can see. This table actually is designed so an AGV drops a load off on one side and the operators come and get it with a cart on the other side as they need these electric batteries for their electric cars. There's manual gravity conveyor on here. There's a brake release for that conveyor so it doesn't accidentally roll off. And then we designed some fixturing on top of it to make it more ergonomic and easier for the operators to hold on to something as they grab these tubs and roll them off. And then this is the brake release for the gravity conveyor. So again, we're going to look at an application, we're going to help specify it, we're going to design it around a solution that we're going to work with the end user to develop. Put a lot of tilt tables on top of lift tables, and again, we're lifting, we're tilting, making it more ergonomic for this operator to get these metal parts out of this basket in this instance. Then we can add casters and battery packs to our lift tables. So again, we're lifting and positioning work, but in this instance, somebody wants to be able to move it around a facility. And we can add all the same options: conveyor, turntables, bellow skirts, anything that the customer may require to any of our portable lift tables. Again, the concept here is just you're not set in one place. Now with most lift tables, we have a 5, 7, 10-inch lowered height, somewhere in that range. So you're going to find people are going to have needs for floor level lift tables, which this is a lift table that goes all the way down to the floor and allows you to load it with a pallet jack. These are great solutions for people that either don't have forklifts or stackers to load and unload a lift table, or they just don't want that forklift or powered piece of equipment going into their production area for fear of it running into somebody or something. So we do offer a full line of floor level lift tables with a turntable, without a turntable. The one thing I will always caution you about is look at the footprint that you have to use and make sure when you get a quote from us on a floor level lift that this is going to fit in that footprint. So this platform is designed to work with a 4x4 pallet. It's approximately 68 inches wide by 56 inches deep. It takes up quite a bit of room. The one with the turntable is almost 8 feet long. So you need a lot more room to put these in. So just keep that in mind when you're working with your customer on these lifts. Now, the next category we're going to talk about from Presto are what we call worker access platforms that elevate up and down. So instead of bringing work up to the worker, in this instance, we're going to bring the worker up to the work. So he or she doesn't have to work off of a ladder or scaffolding. So this is a lift, has gates. This particular side is open because this is up against maybe a refrigerator or maybe a large piece of equipment that they're assembling, and the operator can position themselves up and down at the height that makes it ergonomic for them to work. Here's one that we designed. We made it portable with casters. And this particular customer, sometimes they were working off of the right side, sometimes off the left side, and sometimes off the ends. So for that application, what we designed is handrails that folded down. Normally these handrails would be up during the operation, except for the side that they're working on, they can fold them in half. So again, that's just us understanding the customer's requirements and working a little bit harder to solve their specific needs. Then on a worker access platforms, we have lifts that will raise people up and then telescope them out to get closer to the work. So if you think about working on an aircraft, the fuselage is round, so you may have to come up and telescope out to get closer to that fuselage. Think about a Caterpillar manufacturing facility where maybe they're manufacturing and they have to get close to the cab after it's been put on. They want to raise their employee up and telescope them out so they can get close to the cab but overhang the other part of the piece of equipment. And then here's a nice one that we designed. It was a U-shaped lift, so the product was in the center, and both of these platforms slid out 3 feet from the stationary platform. So we raise up, slide in these two, and then we even have a bridge so they can access both sides of it. So as long as we can do it safely, we can design a lift table to lift product or to lift people up. Presto also has a line of dock lifts. We have stationary and portable dock lifts. Down in the South, we don't sell a whole lot of dock lifts, but these are used in facilities that maybe do not have a dock level position. Maybe it's a smaller operation that's in a retail strip center. Perhaps it's even somebody that just has an older building that wasn't designed with a high level dock. So these are designed to lift a forklift or lift a pallet jack up so that you can get into the back of a truck and unload it. The next category from Presto is container tilters. And personally, I like these products from Presto. We see these metal bins, these wire baskets full of parts in all these manufacturing and assembly operations. And people are bending over constantly to get into these. So rather than designing a lift and a tilt table, which is pretty expensive, we have a piece of equipment called a container tilter that pivots at 28 inches off the ground, and it rolls the top part of that basket towards the operator. So he or she just has to reach into that bin, that plastic tote, whatever it may be, and access the parts that they need. We can make these stationary where you load them with a forklift or a pallet jack, or they can be portable where you can wheel them around and go and get the load. So lots of different options for these. They can be customized for specific applications. We just need to do a little bit of research and fully understand it, and that's where you'll get me involved in it. And then another application where these are used is for packaging. So this particular person had a big corrugated box on a skid that they were building out every day with smaller boxes. So what we did for her is we tilted it up so she can just simply reach in to the box and easily put the smaller boxes into her larger box. And the really nice thing about these container tilters is a lift and tilt tables in the $10,000 to $11,000 range. This particular unit is in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. So they're fairly economical as well. Then we've got a line of tilt tables and upenders. And what these will do for you is they allow you to do some work, assemble. This particular person was building cabinets, and when they were done, they stood it upright on a pallet and were able to move it around. So this is what we call an upender. We also have the same piece of equipment that could be used in the opposite direction. This particular one was designed for a company that had large steel rolls that came in on pallets, and they wanted to get them off the pallet and get them from being eye to the sky to a horizontal position. So we loaded it on these forks. We just dropped that skid on the forks, and then we tilted it back down, laid that roll down on its side. The reason people will go to this rather than using an overhead crane, perhaps with a sling, is when we lay it down, we protect the sides of it. We've got this V cradle built into our platform. It cradles that roll real tight and doesn't allow it to crush and pinch the corners. When you do it with an overhead piece of equipment, particularly with aluminum rolls, you'll find that they crush and bend the ends. And now all of these can be designed where the platform or the platen goes all the way down to the ground, so you can roll on and off of it. Then the next category of lift tables from Presto are pallet positioners. And these either work off of a spring or an air, compressed air, and these are self-contained. So you pressurize this system or you add springs, and the way these work is they will self-level, meaning they'll go up and down based on the weight that's on the unit automatically. So whether you're working with 2,000 pounds all the way up to 4,500 pounds, we can self-level your loads. Doesn't matter the weight. We have different spring configurations and different amount of air that you would put into these units. They all have a turntable built into them. They have fork pockets. And the way these work, if you start with an empty load, and as you add weight to it, it automatically goes down. So we're taking that interface away from the operator and letting the piece of equipment automatically adjust based on that fully loaded weight. And the opposite is true. If you start with a full load, as you take weight off, it will automatically rise. You've got a turntable built into it. These are very cost effective. So when you find people that are working with pallets, maybe at the beginning of an assembly line or the end of an assembly line, this is a great way to load and unload pallets. And what we typically find is someone who buys one of these, they have multiple applications for these self-leveling pallet positioners. Presto has a line of turntables just to rotate pallets on the ground. We have them designed so you can roll a cart on and off of them and rotate them. Here's a couple of cart applications we did. And then the last category within Presto, they've got a line of stackers. And these stackers are designed to not replace a forklift, but kind of go where a forklift doesn't go. We're 3,000 pounds or less on our stackers. We've got manual foot pump up and down, manual push around. Here's an example in a machine shop where they're using some of these. Maintenance people will use these. Then we can even add a battery to it and a platform on it to raise the loads up and down. And then they go as large as handling full pallets in and out of pallet rack. And this wouldn't be replacing a forklift, but maybe in a tool crib area, or maybe they want to load a lift table or a pallet positioner and they don't want a forklift going into that area. We can get them a stacker that will pick up that pallet and load it onto our piece of equipment. We've also got stackers that do not have any legs out in front of them, so you don't have to straddle the load. These are counterweighted. These aren't designed to pick up full pallets. They have a 15-inch load center. They're designed to handle fixturing and dies in and out of CNC machines. And then we've got a line of electric stackers. So these are driven by electric. So if somebody doesn't necessarily want to have a battery inside of it, we can tie it into electric. We do have people that will buy these, use them stationary as a cart lift to lift up carts in the air. And we can design them to have platforms on them as well. So you could roll a cart on here, lift it up, roll a pallet on here and lift it up. We've even got people that will buy these and use them as an inexpensive VRC to take product up and down onto a second level mezzanine. And we can add custom conveyor to our stackers with die pullers, custom platforms, booms, hooks, and rams, drum handling options on it. And then we've got a line of fully powered. So these are full powered stackers, power lift, power drive. We're not trying to replace a forklift. We're trying to go where a forklift maybe cannot go, or maybe somebody doesn't want to take a forklift. We have them that go up to handle 125 inches of lift height up to 3,000 pounds. And then Presto has a new line of transporters. This footprint is 2 foot by 2 foot. This is designed to lift up to 400 pounds and has a platform where we could put forks or a few other attachments on the front of it. And this particular piece is designed for those applications where somebody maybe has a limit of 35 or 45 pounds that they're able to pick up and handle. So we'll design these to handle boxes, maybe in and out of shelving, maybe handle bins and totes that have some work in process in a facility. Smaller loads that people need to move around just makes it easier to move around. The unit itself only weighs about 85 to 100 pounds, depending on the capacity of the unit. Simple to move, goes in and out of doorways, goes into tight areas without a problem. We do have a few what I call static end effectors, boom and a hook, a V cradle, a ram. Very, very simple end effecting. When you need to get a little bit more custom off the front of it, we have a line called LiftTrack. And LiftTrack manufactures the same thing, a transporter, but we do custom end effecting off the front of it. And these custom end effectors can be designed to handle anything up to 600 pounds of capacity. So here we're picking up a roll off of a pallet, we're raising it up and we're loading it into a machine, and we're power tilting at 90 degrees to get that core horizontal to the floor. Here's one we did for a tire manufacturer. It's got a V cradle with multi-directional rollers. This allowed us to side shift the load, rotate the load, and we could even pivot the load. We designed it with 10-inch steel casters because the floor was in terrible shape. Here's one we designed to grab a tote off of a stack, raise that tote up, and then dump the product onto a conveyor line. These totes weighed 450 pounds. Here's a roll handling application. We can rotate the roll in this direction, and we can pivot the roll in this direction. These arms move. We can do very simple mandrel holders. So this is just a set of forks basically that come off and they hang and they sling onto the end of the mandrel. They're loading this piece of film into a slitting operation. Here's one we did for Tyco, where we're going in and we're picking up a reel that weighs 560 pounds and we're loading it onto a machine. But what we designed here that was a little bit unique is we built rollers into the ram to allow it easier to push that 500+ pound core reel off. We designed an end stop that was a manual flip. You just pulled this lever and it would flip up the end stop, the nose on it, to keep the roll from sliding off during transportation. And then we designed the end effector itself to tilt 10 degrees up or down because their floors weren't level and their machines weren't level. So we had to make sure that we were able to handle an unlevel area. Here's one we designed for a customer, 30 by 30 platform. It's basically an assembly table for them. And as we were talking to them, they were assembling these 150-pound bearings, doing some work on it, and they had to work on both sides of them. They were talking about getting an overhead crane. Well, we just designed a simple boom and a hook with a sling so they could raise it up, sling that bearing, flip it over, all within that work cell. They were quite happy with us being able to come up with that. Here's a clamping operation, and rather than it be a powered clamp, we did a manual turn clamp to it. This customer didn't want to crush what they were picking up and clamping onto. Do a lot of arms and booms and hooks. So this particular one was designed to telescope in and out 20 inches, could extend into a cavity and grab something, place something. This one pivoted 270 degrees. It swung so it could swing outside its footprint, pick up a compressor, swing back, and then load it into a machine. And then here's an arm we designed. It's holding this 55-pound piece of electronics. That's a subassembly that got built. Then they had to put it into a cabinet that was 18 inches deep. So we designed this arm that would reach and extend into the cabinet so they could line it up and bolt it in place rather than having to hold it by hand. Grabbing a pallet and rotating it for a customer. Here we're grabbing a 2-foot by 3-foot electrical panel that got built out with some electrical components. It ended up weighing about 150 pounds. And then our end effector, which starts here and goes all the way back, was designed so it could go over the table they were doing their subassembly on, clamp onto it, raise up, power tilt 90 degrees, push over to a 2-foot cabinet, hold it in place while they bolted this subassembly into that cabinet. So we took it from a 3-man operation to a 1-man operation. Here's a exhaust system we're holding for a customer, positioning it, rotating it for them. Here's a windshield for a bus manufacturer. We're grabbing it out of a crate, picking it up, putting it onto a bus. And then here's one that we're not sure what we were grabbing. They wouldn't tell us, but this is almost like your arm. Here's your shoulder, it pivots. Here's a pivot point like your elbow. Your fingers, your hand, your wrist are all right here. So we can reach and go around a corner with this into a cavity for this operation. And then here I just like to show that we can counterweight it, meaning on these units, we can go past the end of the legs, add some weight to the back of the unit to balance it so we can reach into cabinets and go into things. Then we can talk a little bit about Milligon's anti-fatigue matting. A lot of matting out there that's being sold. All of your customers are using it. 90% of people are buying a foam mat with a vinyl cover over it. We offer a little bit different product. We have a recycled 20-inch by 20-inch tile that has male and female ends to it that pieces together like Legos, and you can create any size, any shape that you want. Now this product doesn't have any foam underneath it, so it works a little bit different than those foam mats. This product is heat resistant up to 800 degrees. It's oil resistant and chemical resistant. So we can put it into those oily environments and we're not going to have it break down and fall apart. Now, the way this mat works, it's different than the foam mats. On the bottom of each of our mats are 144 compression columns. These work like shock absorbers. When you step on it, they absorb the impact but keep you up on top of the work surface. The downside of a foam mat or a rubber mat is you sink into the mat. Now, when you sink into the mat, it's kind of like being at the beach. You restrict the blood flow in your legs. Now, it feels good at first, but over a period of time when that blood flow is being restricted, your legs start to burn if you walk around in that sand. The same thing's happening in foam. It's not giving the body the support it needs. So we're able to keep the operators up on top of the work surface and create an ergonomic work surface for them. Here's an example of a race team that use them in front of their benches. It's a real clean look. One tile fits this is 3 tiles put together to create one mat. Here's an example in an oily environment. We used our grit work surface, which is almost like a 60-course sandpaper for anti-slip. We designed it, and this actually was designed to be cut out. We cut our tiles to have these legs go through our matting, or have our matting wrap around the legs, I should say, to keep them on that mat surface even when they're up against that bench in the back. Here's a real nice one we did. You could do this with foam, a nice long run, but you'll notice our mat stays nice and straight. The other advantage is they've got these carts here, and since our mat keeps you up on top of the work surface, you can roll these carts onto our mat and you're not going to hurt it. You can drive forklifts over our mats. You're not going to hurt them. Here's one where we use this. We actually sold the container tilter, and while we were in there talking to them, all of their mats were kind of melted, burned. I said, man, what's going on? They said, this part is 350 degrees. He drops it sometimes. It catches the mat on fire, melts the mat. We proved to him that our product would withstand that heat. Came in, we designed these custom mats for them. The other benefit that they ended up getting out of this is the electrical that runs to the lift table can be run underneath our mats because we have those compression columns underneath there, act as a segue for the electrical and the hydraulic lines to run back and forth on this particular unit. There's no trip point for them. On a foam mat, you would have had a bump where that went through it. And then here's just showing some custom shapes. Again, you can drive forklifts, pallet jacks, carts over our mat. You can put our mat on bar grading. We offer a 10-year warranty, which means that mat will react and work the same 10 years from now. And then Milligon has a full line of chairs for people that sit. Now, most people in the environments I go into are standing, but there are a few that sit to do their job. These are assembly chairs. They're true ergonomic. There's 10 degrees plus or minus movement in the seat and in the back, so the chair constantly stays with you as you're moving. Here's a sit stand for temporary relief. And then we can do some custom chairs where maybe you have to work on the bottom side of a piece of equipment. This was designed for a helicopter manufacturer. The person sat in it and laid back to do their assembly work. Then the last product line in the assembly area is going to be Treston, and Treston makes height adjustable workstations. So where somebody wants to buy a $99 bench from a catalog, that's not our customer. Our customer is somebody who's doing assembly work. They want to make it ergonomic, movement up and down for their operators, and they want to design a work cell that is going to allow the operator to hang stuff from overhead, hang the light, hang the balancer. Here's a vacuum system we hung from overhead that this gentleman works with. All of his tools can get hung on this board in the back. He's got drawers down here to store stuff, shelf for his dies and his fixtures to sit on. This particular guy wanted to sit, and then we've got a workstation over here for a packaging operation where this person wanted to stand, but you can see the same thing, a place for the printer underneath, place for the keyboard and monitor. Everything is up off of the workbench, because on this bench, really all you should have is what you're packaging, what you're assembling. Everything else should be kept up off that area. That allows us to do a couple of things. We can make the bench smaller because maybe you don't need all that assembly area that somebody might need if they were putting their computer and their printer on top of the work surface as well. So we're shrinking the footprint, which we all know is expensive in manufacturing facilities. Here we have some tool boards where we're hanging tools vertically, just a different way to store product. This gives you a little bit better visual of your product rather than storing them in drawers. This is 3 foot deep, 7 foot high, and 3 foot wide. It takes up just 9 square feet. And you can store up to 10 of these perforated metal panels vertically. And then we can take these panels and put them on carts. This one was designed for Caterpillar. They used to keep all of this in toolboxes, and then we designed it so they could hang all of their tools. They no longer have to go through the drawers to look for products. Makes them a lot more efficient at turning to find their product or the tool that they have to work with. And here's just some examples. We can do shelves, we can put bins on them. Here's that tool product we sold to Caterpillar. Then we're going to move into a little bit of storage. We represent Quantum Storage Systems, manufacturer of plastic bins, shelf bins, parts bins, every bin you can imagine we manufacture. We are the manufacturer of it. We manufacture this in Miami. And the one commitment that the owner of this company has made is you will never lose an order to a catalog house. So if you have customers that are using bins and they're buying them from a catalog house, the easiest sale you can make is to take this catalog to the purchasing agent, drop it on their desk. They will flip through it and tell you what bin they're buying, and we will make sure that you are competitive and can get that order away from those catalog people. So bins for shelves, bins that hang in systems. We've got clear bins, so you can visually see what you've got in them. Full line of clear bins. We can put our bins in cabinets and sell you the system. Put our bins on portable systems to be wheeled around. Louver panels to hang bins on walls. Large bins for distribution. What we call a divider box, or a container that allows you to store multiple product inside of the same box and separate it with dividers inside of it. The electronics world uses these for sub-assemblies quite a bit, as well as the pharmaceutical world. Distribution totes for distributing picking orders, put them in a distribution tote, and then you can even ship it to your customer in these, meaning it has to be a closed loop to ship it outside, meaning like a CVS drugstore. They're very common in those applications. We have collapsible containers as well for those large parts. Storage for smaller parts. We have flip out bins so you can visually see what you've got and get your parts real easy. Here's a cart, plastic cart that we sell. And then we have a full line of wire shelving. Now, most people are going to think about, for wire shelving, pharmaceutical, food service. That's true, but we sell a lot of wire shelving into manufacturing facilities. And the reason for that is dust does not collect on our shelves. So we can make these shelves in different widths, different depths, different finishes for colors if necessary. And then in the distribution world, people like these carts because we can put them on wheels, and they're an economical solution for a picking cart. And these are all height adjustable on 1-inch centers. So as their load changes, they can quickly adjust the cart for that need. Here's some shorter height carts for maybe in a manufacturing environment where you need to move goods around. We have security cabinets that can be locked up to store product on a plant floor, but you can still see what's inside of it. We have linen carts for the hospitality industry. We can take our shelving and put them on a track system that moves right to left, so we can create higher density storage, store more and less space. We have a floor track and an overhead track as well. And then we've got a line of steel shelving that can come with or without bins. So again, we're here to guide you through all of these types of applications. Now, Mid-States. Mid-States is a steel fabricator, and they can make anything you want out of steel. So here we have an order picking cage or a man-up order picker. Here we have a pallet for John Deere, steel pallet, a custom designed cart. Here's a platform cart with a turntable and rollers on it, and this cart was actually designed to roll over a lift table so it could be elevated up. Bar stock carts, expanded metal carts, and a full line of trailers. Anything you need customized out of steel, Mid-States can do for you. Now, we're not going to sell a 2x4 platform truck out of steel from Mid-States. Our cost point is going to be too high to compete against those catalog houses. But where somebody needs a custom platform cart, custom trailer, we can handle that. Another category that Mid-States does a good job with is we talked about height elevating worker access platforms. This is a stationary height worker access platform. It's portable. It's on casters in this particular instance. Doesn't have to be, but this one is. So basically, this is getting an operator up 18 inches higher, so they along an assembly line, so they can do their work. We do a whole lot of these worker platforms. We do a whole lot of trailers with Mid-States. These get tugged in factories. They put their goods on it. Capacities on these trailers can range from 1,000 pounds up to 200,000 pounds capacity. These are used to be tugged behind a forklift or maybe even tugged with a tugging or an AGV possibly. And these can be designed with four-wheel steer. This one right here is a four-wheel steer, which means it'll self-track at the end of a line. And then Mid-States has a full line of stainless steel carts, stainless steel trucks, stainless steel products. Anything you need out of stainless steel, we can design out of stainless steel for you and fabricate it. The next manufacturer is going to be New Age. Now, New Age makes everything out of aluminum. Very similar to Mid-States, except we're changing the metal. We're working only with aluminum here. So aluminum carts, aluminum pallets are a big mover for us, pallet stands, worker access platforms. And then we have three distinct categories that we sell. Picking carts. Why would somebody want an aluminum picking cart over a steel picking cart? Is what people will always ask us. Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, weight. This cart only weighs 75 pounds. If we built it out of steel, it'd be close to 350 pounds. If I'm pushing a cart around all day long, certainly would like to have a lighter cart. I can easily push it a little bit better. Number two, this can be stored outside. It can be washed down. It can get wet. It's not going to rust. That's an advantage. Number three is going to be paint finish. We're not painting our carts. This is aluminum. So you're not going to have paint chips. You're not going to have it scratch. You're not going to have it look as bad over a period of time as you do with a steel cart. They're just as strong, just as durable as a steel. And then the other thing that we do that's really great is we like to customize our carts. So here we've got our standard cart that we showed you on the other page, but we'll make little changes to it. We'll angle the shelves a bit more. We'll make the shelves longer and add a drink holder and a tool holder to it, an iPad holder or a clipboard holder to it. Maybe they want to pick from both sides or pick to both sides of this cart. We'll V the shelves up so you can put bins on both sides. Put a tow bar on it so you can tow it through a factory. This particular one has a step stool that pulls out to allow them to step up onto something so they don't have to reach up so high in the shelving. The advantage to us when we start making these small fabricating changes is going to be we separate ourselves from the steel guy. So if you were in talking to somebody and they wanted to talk about carts and you started talking steel, the odds are the 2 or 3 other guys that are talking to them about carts are talking about steel. You can differentiate your sales process to that customer by talking aluminum. You'll be the only one talking aluminum carts. And then what we always want to do is start to ask questions of that customer. Go, Mr. Customer, what are you doing? How can we make this a little bit different for you and incorporate some of these options or features into it? The reason we like to do that is the end user starts to get buy into the cart, starts to build a cart that's specific to his requirements. And we also differentiate ourselves from that steel guy because he's usually not doing that. And the price of our aluminum cart was going to start out a little bit more expensive for our standard. But when we start making these changes, our aluminum price doesn't jack way up. Steel guys, they're set up like an assembly line. They don't want to build customs. So their price is going to go way up on a custom cart. So that's something that'll help you differentiate yourself and really help solve your customers' needs. So we do a lot of pick carts. We do a lot of what we call ladder carts. So these have steps on them. So you can get up 3 steps high, 4 steps high. And we're doing the same thing here. We're going to customize it for the specific needs. A tool tray that pulls out, fork pockets so you can lift this up and down on a mezzanine, center pivot wheel so you can turn in your own footprint, make the shelves longer and angle them, iPad holder. We're going to work with the customer to really understand his or her pain points. And then we have a full line of what we call order picking cages. And these order picking cages are designed to go on to a man-up order picker, which is a device that takes an operator up in a pallet rack so we can pick goods out of it. And most people put just a pallet on the end of it and they throw goods on there when they're up 30 feet in the air, 20 feet in the air. We make these cages that allow the operator to have a smooth transition from their platform onto our work area. We give them shelves or bins or cubby holes to store the products. We put these on casters because when they're done picking, they set the pallet down and then somebody has to come and get that pallet to package it out. You can simply just grab our cage and push it over to your packaging area for packaging. And we're going to do the same thing we talked about before. You need shelves that flip up, we'll design it. You need doors on the back of it, we'll design it. You need cubby holes so you can pick specific goods to specific areas. We'll design our unit to take care of that for you. Now we're going to talk about some facility products. We represent modular office line called In-Plant Office. An In-Plant Office is manufacturing these offices in St. Louis. And what these offices are is a room just like you're in right now, but it comes together on a pallet and goes together almost like an erector set. So we got a floor track, we have raceways, we have wall panels, windows, doors, a roof, drop ceiling, everything that the room that you have in it has right now. The main difference is we don't have wood studs. We have metal raceways that hold our panels together and act as electrical chases. And we don't have that pink insulation inside of it. We use a polystyrene center, holds our panels together, which is a sheetrock on either side of it for insulation and for sound. And then we've got a vinyl wrap that we put on the outside of it that makes it real easy to clean fingerprints. Now, why would somebody want a modular office over just having someone come and traditionally stick build an office? Well, some of the benefits are going to be, number one, time savings. This office complex right here showed up on a Monday, was installed on a Monday and Tuesday. So the installer showed up when it showed up. He got it installed in 2 days. Wednesday morning, people were moving into this complex and starting to use it. You cannot do that with traditional stick construction. It's going to take months to orchestrate all of this. Number two, if you did this out of modular construction, everything's prefabricated when it shows up. We're less distraction because we're not sanding, we're not having all this debris, cutting wood. This is all prefabricated, so there's less distraction to your workforce. Because you and I know whenever somebody walks in to do something at a manufacturing plant or a distribution center, everybody that works there stops and looks to see who it is and what they're doing. We minimize that distraction because we're on site for less period of time. Number three is if you need to move this wall out 5 feet, with traditional construction, you got to tear that wall down, throw everything away and rebuild it. With us, you move that wall 5 feet, add another 5 linear feet of other walls, some additional roof, boom, you're done. Number four, we can move this. So we can take this down and move it within the building we're in or to another location. Can't do that with traditional stick-built construction. And then the last real benefit is this is a piece of equipment. It can be depreciated like a piece of equipment. So the accounting people like to know that if you bought this office, it's a piece of equipment. Thanks to Section 179, you can depreciate 100% of it in the year you buy it. Traditional construction has to be depreciated over 30 years. These offices are going to look the same, act the same as if you're inside of a regular building. We can put wall units in it for the HVAC, or you can run central air conditioning into it, no problem. Now, these may seem a little bit intimidating to you if you've never sold one of these, but we'll make it easy for you. From the design to the installation, we'll guide you through that whole process. Now, I'm not going to install it, but I'm going to give you a distributor. I'm going to give you as a distributor an installer who's familiar with our systems and can come and install it efficiently for you and do a really good job and make you look good in front of your customer. So And then from the design standpoint, give me a call. We'll walk through what your customer's trying to do. We'll make site visits if necessary and lay out these systems. So these can be 2-story as well. These can be large rooms. This room is 16 foot. We put roll-up doors in them, man doors inside of them, just like traditional construction. This is a packaging room that we designed for a client. We can put them up on a mezzanine with large windows so you can get kind of a vision tower for a worker, the production people to be kind of viewed from their supervisor from up top. Here's one, we did a room, and then we did load bearing. So we made the roof support 125 pounds per square foot. So essentially it's a 2-story, and we put storage up top. Here's a wall that we designed to separate 2 areas of a facility. We put a high-speed door inside of it, man door. Here's a clean room. We can do clean rooms, true clean rooms, and we can also do cleaner room environments. Most of the time when people say they need a clean room, they just need a room that's a little bit cleaner than their production floor. But if you have customers that require HEPA filters and air filtration, we can help make that turnkey with some of our manufacturing partners. People do conference room, board rooms out of them, bathrooms, break rooms, lunch rooms. We see them everywhere. We can do guard shacks, control towers, and then we can make our offices portable as well, where you can move them around a facility. Staying in that separation area, we've got a line called SOPRs, which does soft wall partitioning. So we're going to divide up 2 areas of a plant. So why are you going to divide up 2 areas? It could be for visual control, odor control, temperature control. It could be for dust control, sound control, a whole variety of reasons. This is just simply a vinyl wall that hangs down from the ceiling to the floor. We can chain weight it have it just chain weighted down at the floor. We can anchor it to the floor. We can attach above the rafters or below the rafters, whatever that application calls for. It's real simple. We just use beam clamps at the top to hang our system. If we're in between trusses, we use a spanner and we hang it. We put an upper valance so we can run there'll be piping and sprinklers and things that run in left to right through here. We do our cutouts in our upper valance, and then we hang our lower curtain down below it. Here's a packaging room we did for a customer, just wanted a little bit cleaner area. Strip curtains that are framed out for their entrances and exits. You can see this is a 2-wall. It comes off of 2 existing walls and just in the corner of a building. We did all of our cutouts, cleaned it up, made it look real nice. Here's a welding area we did for a customer. We've got man doors inside of it. We've got roll-up doors that are the same material as our walls. We've got a sliding door in it. Here we put the welding material in the center of it so you could see inside, but yet still protect the people that were looking into that room from the welding flash. Here's a mezzanine we enclosed up top. They were going to heat and cool the top of this mezzanine for a manufacturing process in their DC. So we designed it, went from column to column, worked with that roof pitch, tied it up, made it look real nice for them. Here's a grinding operation we did for a customer. This is 150 foot by 60 foot square. What we did unique here is clear vision, because they wanted the light transfer. And in the whole bottom are tinted strip curtains. So you can access this building 360 degrees all the way around. There's no doors. These act as your doors. These are just strips that fold on top of each other. So you can come and go throughout this building at any point, any place. Here we're just hybriding it. We've got a block wall. We're closing the top of it for an operation. These can also be retractable rather than stationary. There's just a rope that hangs down that you grab and you push it open and closed with it. They can be outside as well. And when we do outside, we put grommets in the floor with straps to hold them in place so the wind doesn't blow it open. And then we can make the whole room expand out. So this is 30 foot, contracts all the way down into 7 foot. This particular operation, they had to bring something in that was large from overhead and set it in place. And it was just easier to have the room pushed back, set it in place, and then wrap the room around it. We've also done applications where people are maybe doing a process once or twice a week for a couple hours, and they want to contain that process only during that time period, and they don't want to commit that floor space. So we'll design the room that can be pulled out, used when you're doing that process, and then retracted away when you're not. And then we do a lot of sound containment. And an example of a sound containment, here's a bunch of equipment that made a whole bunch of noise. We enclosed it. It looks a lot nicer in my opinion. We've got vision panels so we can see the controls. We put air inlets on either side with fans to bring fresh air in and keep everything cool. And we contain that sound from rolling throughout the factory. Here's another sound containment we did. This was a piece of equipment that made a lot of noise, but the noise was all concentrated in the center in a chute that was parts were being dropped down into. So we just contained that center part. We put a vision panel in it so they could see what was going on if it got jammed. And then they needed the doors or the sides to open up so they could do maintenance. So we put a track that allowed the sides to open all the way up so they could have full access to it. And then here's another one we did for sound for an aviation manufacturer. They had a large bearing that was coming in and it came in from overhead. So we had to make our roof power retract open so they could bring the overhead crane in and drop it in place. And then we made the doors fully open in the front, accordion style. So we're an engineering company. We can design it to meet the specific needs. And again, we can do it turnkey from design to install. Anything that needs to be installed, we'll get you an installer locally that can take care of it for you. We've got Burner, which does air curtains in the facilities. So what this does is it allows you to contain the good air inside of your conditioned building. So Walmart, Sam's Clubs, Costco's, they use these at their entrances. And as you know, they work on tight margins. If these didn't save them money, they wouldn't put them in and install them. So the cost to your savings to your customer can be realized in 6 to 8 months when you put an air curtain in place. So again, what we're doing is we're taking the conditioned air and blowing it down across a door opening, and then 80% of that air rolls back into the room and 20% is lost. So what we're doing is we're keeping insects, dust, and dirt, and unconditioned air and wind from entering the facility and keeping that good air inside of the facility. So we may have a 20% air loss with our air curtain there, but that's better than 100% air loss that you have when you didn't have a curtain there. So in industrial applications, these are used over roll-up doors where there's not a dock on the backside, but a ramp or ground level, where maybe this door gets opened up so that they can move product to an outside storage area, or maybe they take trash to a trash can or a recycle area. And what typically happens in these manufacturing environments is they roll that door up, they drive through it, they leave that door open for 10 minutes while they're doing whatever they're doing, and they come back. Well, that's 10 full minutes of complete air loss. By putting this air curtain in place, that 10 minutes, we have minimal air loss. We're saving the customer money. Even if they didn't leave this door open, but they were going in and out of this door 10 times a day, this air curtain payback would be within inside of a year's time. So because we're going to protect that opening, keep that conditioned air inside as soon as that door starts to go up. We can mount them vertically. We can use them in interior walls as well. Here's a horizontal, a vertical installation that we did. And in this application, there was actually a process that was creating an odor, and they wanted to keep this door opening, but blow this across so that the odor wasn't entering into the other side of their building. We can do them over man doors. So if you think of operations that do shift changes, and they have that one door that stays open maybe for 20 minutes during that shift change, put a small air curtain over that door, they'd be amazed at the energy savings. We have an energy savings calculator on our website, which we can walk you through that whole process if you have an interest, and it will show your customer how quickly his payback will be. Then the last product line we're going to talk about is Amigo. And Amigo makes powered equipment. And they have 4 distinct units that we'll show you today. The first one is a little powered tugger. Now, a lot of people offer tugging equipment. We are at the entry point, meaning price-wise, this tugger is $2,500, and capacity-wise, we're at 1,100 pounds. So we can tug 1,100 pounds off of a hitch. It's all self-contained. There's 2 12-volt batteries, an electric drive motor, simple 110 plug. The controls are real easy to operate up on the handlebar here. So we have people that are moving 1,100 pounds or less around their facility on carts. We can tug those carts around the facility for them. And you're going to be at a price point that's very economical when compared to our competition. Then we can extend it. Here's a powered platform cart. So we can create any size platform that you may need on here. We can add extra shelves, whatever you need. We're an American manufacturer up in Michigan. Again, same drive unit, just we're extending the platform to handle a larger load. Then we have a people mover. So this particular one is designed to move people. So a person stands on it and they drive through the factory. Just reconfigured to have a person stand on it. 6 miles per hour top speed. We can go 30 miles on a charge. We can also take this unit and put a hitch on it so that you can tug carts with this particular unit as you move through the facility. And then the last unit that they offer is going to be a unit with a trailer on it. And this trailer can be attached like you've got here. So if you start to think about picking operations, this is a great solution for lighter weight picking. We've had people that maybe have a pallet and they're running around on a forklift putting goods on a pallet. Man, this is a whole lot more economical to operate. Number two, we see a lot of maintenance people use these because they can put their toolbox on the back or their product that they need to take for their maintenance on the trailer and then drive this cart right up to the piece of equipment they have to maintain. It's only 22 inches wide. It's under $4,000 purchase point, so it's less expensive than those golf carts or those other heavy duty tuggers that they're buying, and it serves a purpose. Easy to get around, easy to maneuver, get up against the piece of equipment that they're working on. And then we have a trailer that can be detachable. So in a picking operation where maybe you're picking goods, putting them on this trailer, you can release the trailer, get an empty trailer, and go back out and continue to pick while somebody grabs this other trailer and does their packaging operation. So those are the lines that we represent. I appreciate your time today. And as I mentioned, we're here to guide you through the process. I don't expect you to be an expert on any of these product lines that we discussed today. But what I'd like for you to do is just understand that I'm here to help you and assist you and guide you through specifying any of these products. I like making end user calls, so take advantage of me in that arena as well. And then the last thing I'm going to show you before we end here is on our website, we've got some resources and tools for you guys to use. The first one is we have an online binder. So if you click on this off our Southern Market Share website, it'll take you to a binder, and then you can click on the Carolina binder because that's where all of you guys are located. And then this gives you every manufacturer that we've got. And then within these manufacturers, you can go and grab their literature. You can go get the Presto literature. There's a download button that you can click that will download it to your computer, and all of our manufacturers are going to be listed in here. The other thing we've got is if you like hard literature, we do have a literature request. You can email me and we'll get that literature taken care of, or you can come right here, fill out this form, submit it, and send it in to us. And we'll get it taken care of for you. So appreciate everyone's time today. If you have questions, give me a call, shoot me an email. I think you all know how to get a hold of me. And I look forward to working with you guys in the future on applications. Thank you all.